rolling tumors to roaring lampooners, the Tigers on a Roll show starts in 3, 2, 1.
War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another episode of Tigers on a Roll. I want to thank everyone so much for always tuning in, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have anything that you would personally like for me to cover on the show, absolutely reach out to me on YouTube or X, and I will add them as programming notes for future episodes. I always want to bring you guys content you're interested in, not just the stuff I am interested in. So any opportunity to do that is absolutely amazing, and I look forward to it. But today is another episode of the Tigers on a Prowl segment. And we will take a look at what is going on around the plains with all or most of the teams in Auburn Athletics that are participating in their winter and spring sports this week. So let's dive straight into it. First, obviously, we're going to talk about one of the big three here. Let's talk about men's basketball, because Stephen Pearl and the squad are fresh off of a very surprising, at least to me, 71-67 win over the South Carolina Gamecocks Saturday evening. And I apologize to all the folks that saw the remote cast or, caught some of the negative comments on Twitter. I don't think I was the only one. But I will apologize to you because I like to boog. I did not have faith in the Tigers winning against what I thought was a pretty complete USC team. However, they were able to pull it off. And that came squarely on the back of just a pretty solid, team showing. At least the vast majority of the guys played well, and it was well enough to beat South Carolina in Neville. And then obviously, I am always going to give a shout out to the Auburn fans in the jungle because they certainly brought the energy. And that is something that Stephen Pearl said was a game changer for the boys. And then on the court, I'm going to give a huge shout out to Philip Jovic for putting on one of what I think is one of his best showings on the court in an Auburn jersey so far this season. He had a career high 23 points and was certainly the difference maker throughout that game, especially when he got the green light to just drive the post. I'm really hoping that he's able to sustain that level of success that he found against South Carolina, because they are certainly going to need it as the season progresses and as we start to face off against some of these tougher SEC opponents, which is exactly what they have to do this week. They are back in action, but they are on the road. So Philip and the boys are going to have to pack the momentum that they found against South Carolina in their suitcases and go to Oxford, Mississippi on Tuesday to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. Tip-off for that game is at 8 p.m. Central. In my opinion, Ole Miss plays a pretty frantic brand of basketball, and their home crowd certainly loves to bring energy at the detriment to away teams, of course. And so I think the Rebels get scrappy in there. But if Auburn can control the paint and they have players step up like they have needed the last couple of weeks and are finally starting to see glimpses of in these recent wins, Auburn can control the paint, control the glass, and hit some shots from short range to get some easy points and maybe clean up the free throw shooting. And I think that they absolutely have the ability to win this game against Ole Miss and leave Oxford with a win. But then the difficulty significantly ramps up as they travel to Gainesville, Florida on Saturday. They are heading down to the Swamp to face a team who is the defending national champions and one that I do not believe we have beaten in Gainesville in quite some time. And that game is at 3 p.m. Central on ESPN. So tune in if you can. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's an opportunity to see two of the Final Four teams from last year face off, and it is obviously an SEC opponent. Who doesn't love to see some ball, especially when the Tigers are playing? But the O'Connell Center, I was planning on going to this game. The last time I went to Gainesville for an Auburn football game or basketball game, we got absolutely dog walked in the O'Connell Center. It is one of the loudest venues in the SEC. And the Gators are built like the teams that have given Auburn problems so far this season. So I think I'm going to watch that one from the couch and not make the trip over to Gainesville. But best of luck to the boys. You know, this is certainly another massive, massive test for Stephen Pearl and the Auburn Tigers against someone that they saw a couple times last year and really had to go down to the wire against to compete for a spot in the national championship game. And it has become a trend that whoever ends up at the top of the SEC, is certainly a Final Four contender and one that is, a dangerous opponent to see if you do end up making it to the championship matchup. But Stephen and the boys are certainly going to have a tough road to hoe. They don't really play all that great in Gainesville, so I'm planning on doing a more in-depth preview later in the week as we get closer to that game about what it'll take to knock the Gators off. But the gist of it is that you absolutely cannot do anything that you did against Michigan and certainly Georgia and whatnot. Like those teams that are just built a little bit bigger than you and they don't let you play as fast as you want to are always a problem, and we have not been able to defend it. So hint, hint, that's going to be one of the keys to success for Auburn, is to just be a completely different basketball team, I guess. But moving on to the women's hardwood, the women's basketball team is back on track for building something really special in Auburn. After certainly a shaky start to conference play, Vickers and the girls got what they needed to, and they bested Bama. They took down Alabama last week, and this week they've got a split week. On Thursday, they are traveling to Nashville to face Vandy at 6:30 Central, and they are back in Neville on Sunday to host Oklahoma at 1. This is our first time hosting Oklahoma as an SEC opponent. So that is going to be a really, really fun matchup to see just in general. But it is also the Women in Sports game. That is the promo. That is the theme for that game on Sunday. So the atmosphere, should definitely be another level for the ladies. And if you have a daughter or a niece, or any, something else maybe, I don't know. But that are in the area, that are in Auburn, that you're in striking distance and you want to go see a game in Neville, I would absolutely suggest you do this. It would absolutely be a great game to introduce, the young folks to what the future can hold for them as female athletes. The law firm I work with in my day job, actually, we sponsor a minor league baseball team, and last season we had a foul ball sponsorship with them that ultimately donated money collected per foul ball to an organization called Leveling the Fields. And being able to see at the reception and the following few months of when the money was being spent on equipment and support for youth women's sports and stuff like that. It was really a rewarding experience, and a game like this where it's the Women in Sports night is absolutely a great opportunity for the future of Auburn's women's basketball team. If you've got a niece or a daughter or something that wants to do that, or future female Tiger or future female athletes in general at the collegiate level. If there are kids in the area that you know of, absolutely bring them to this game, because if they are interested in pursuing future college sports or they're unsure, this is the opportunity to expose them to something really, really special, and maybe increase that interest or finally sell it to them to start participating in sports. Um, I coach a high school lacrosse team, but the same theme applies on all sports. Is it's best to start anyone, men's or women's, young, and develop them through their formidable years and make them the best player they can be. So definitely go out and support the women's basketball team, and see if you can expose someone to what they might be interested in pursuing in the future. I think it's an absolutely outstanding opportunity, uh, and that'll be really really fun for everyone involved. And staying for another fun event that you can go see an Auburn women's team participate in, and what I know Auburn fans are most proud of right now. Friday at 7:45, the number 11 Auburn Tigers are hosting the Florida Gators in Neville Arena for the next gymnastics event. And Florida is coming in to Auburn ranked number 1 in the country. So that is going to be an absolutely huge matchup of two powerhouses in Auburn. And go be part of the jungle and participate and see if we can give them a home field advantage, home mat advantage. Auburn is coming off of a solid 196 plus point outing on the road against Arkansas. They lost that matchup, but they won their first one, and will definitely have to do a little bit more to take down the number 1 ranked Gators, but they absolutely can. And they being Sophia Bell, who I believe is currently ranked 4th nationally as an individual for her vault, and number 5 on the floor. And she's been absolute money. I did a segment on her when I previewed the preseason gymnastics meet. She's an absolute dog. And then Julianne Huff is another one who will be a major factor in the all around. So keep an eye out for the two of them to be the difference makers in these competitions as the season progresses. And this matchup against Florida on Friday is 90s night. So wear, I guess, your Janko jeans and oversized graphic t-shirts, whatever you determine retro gear. I was born in the early 90s, but a lot of the kids that are going to be going to that game were certainly not. So I don't know what they consider retro. I think all of my t-shirts from the 90s are they're pretty sweet, but I wouldn't consider them retro just yet because it feels like the 90s were only a decade ago, not 3 decades ago, in my case. So anyway, get there early, go, show up in your retro gear and make it a hostile environment for the top ranked Florida Gators. And then finally, to wrap up the week, we've got tennis and golf. Tennis, women's tennis, play tomorrow afternoon against Georgia Tech. And then this weekend is the ITA Kickoff Weekend for both men's and women's tennis teams. The women's team is hosting the event for their part of the bracket at Auburn at the Yarborough Tennis Center. And then the men will be playing in Starkville for the same competition, just on the men's bracket. The men will be taking on Bama on the first day, and the women will be facing off against the Tulane Green Wave, which is super exciting for them. Bring Tulane back to the SEC. But anyway, both teams have the potential certainly to win their first matchups and move on to day 2 for a shot at the championship. And to end the weekend, the women's golf team end the weekend and start next week, because I believe they're playing till Tuesday. The women's golf team is playing at Orlando's Eagle Creek Golf Club for the PDI Intercollegiate, which is being hosted by UCF, which is super cool for them. And I guess if you're in Central Florida or near Gainesville or something like that, go to the basketball game and then stay around and go watch day 1 of the women's tournament if you can. And if you're in Central Florida, like all my friends over here at the Orlando Auburn Club, absolutely check it out if you can, especially on Sunday, because obviously Monday and Tuesday we got to catch up on work from today, which was a day off for most people. Not for me, but for most people. So we're not going to have that luxury next Monday, but whatever. Go see him on Sunday if you can. Or just tune in. Tune into the live scoreboard. We'll have some live scoring and whatnot, some updates from the course throughout that event. And tune into them, because the women's golf team has just the same shot to get deep into their season and their postseason play as the men's team does, which is, by the way, currently ranked the #1 team in the country, I believe. So to recap the week ahead, folks, the men's hoops is on the road Tuesday and Saturday. Women's hoop, they're at Vandy on Thursday and then home on Sunday. And then gymnastics has Friday night Heights. And then the women's team is on the Plains, while the men's team is in Stark Vegas. And then women's golf will be in Central Florida for that invitational. And with all those Tigers that are getting on a roll, staying on a roll, it is certainly a great week to be an Auburn Tiger. And thanks for watching Tigers on a Roll. War Eagle, folks. I will see you.